Have you ever felt overwhelmed by life's chaos? Do you find yourself chasing approval only to feel empty afterward? What if your greatest power came not from controlling the world, but from mastering your own mind? If these questions hit home, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into the timeless wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the philosophy of the Stoics, a guide not just to surviving life's trials, but to emerging from them stronger than ever. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Here we don't just talk about self-improvement, we live it. If you're ready to build a mind that bends but never breaks, let's begin. In the heart of Stoic philosophy lies one undeniable truth. Your mind is your greatest weapon. Not your status, not your money, not even your circumstances. It's your mind that decides how you rise or how you fall. 1. Discipline, the root of inner power. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king of Rome, lived not in indulgence but in rigorous self-control. Despite his position at the pinnacle of power, his days were not marked by laziness or excess. He rose early, often before dawn, to prepare himself mentally and physically for the duties of leadership. To Marcus, discipline was not about asceticism for its own sake. It was about preparation for a life of virtue and service. Discipline in the Stoic tradition is not punishment. It is the deliberate cultivation of strength. It's the force that allows you to keep your word when no one is watching, to train your body when it wants rest, and to silence your tongue when emotion demands outburst. In a world full of distractions and shortcuts, discipline is the long road that leads to character. Imagine your mind as a fortress. Every small act of discipline, waking early, reading instead of scrolling, speaking truth rather than flattery, adds another stone to that structure. Over time, the fortress becomes unshakable. When the storms of life come, and they will, it is the disciplined mind that remains standing. Think about the times you've admired someone, not for their wealth or fame, but for their resolve. A teacher who showed up every day, a friend who never gave up on you, a parent who worked 2 jobs without complaint. That's the kind of strength discipline gives. It is not loud, but it is enduring. Most people misunderstand discipline. They think it's about denial. In truth, it's about freedom. The freedom to act according to your principles rather than your impulses. The disciplined person is not a slave to mood, appetite, or fear. They are guided by reason and purpose. Discipline is also the root of confidence. When you know you can rely on yourself, when you've proven through consistent action that you do what needs to be done, you move through life with quiet assurance. You stop seeking validation from others. You stop fearing failure because you know you'll rise again. It starts small. Maybe you set a goal to journal for 10 minutes each morning, or to go for a walk no matter the weather. These acts may seem trivial, but they are seeds. Over time, they sprout into habits, and habits form identity. One day you wake up and realize you've become someone who keeps promises to others and to yourself. Marcus Aurelius didn't become the man he was overnight. It was a lifetime of choices. To read philosophy when others played politics, to meditate on virtue instead of vengeance, to write in his journal in the quiet hours, not for the world, but for his own clarity. You can follow that path. You don't need a throne, only intention. So ask yourself each day, how am I showing up when no one is watching? Am I laying the bricks for the kind of mind and life I want to build? If not, begin again. Discipline isn't perfection, it's persistence. 2. Control the controllable. The Stoics left us with a powerful distinction that remains as vital today as it was in ancient Rome. Some things are within our control and others are not. The key to peace is knowing the difference. You cannot control the weather, the economy, or the opinions of others. But you can control your thoughts, your actions, your effort, and your attitude. That is where your power lies. When chaos erupts, when plans fall apart, people disappoint you, or the unexpected hits, it is tempting to spiral into worry or anger. But that response wastes energy and robs you of clarity. Instead, pause. Ask yourself, what part of this is mine to command? Your flight is delayed. You can't change that. But you can choose to read a book instead of complain. Your boss criticizes your work. You can't control their tone, but you can choose to learn from the feedback or dismiss it if it lacks merit. Someone gossips about you. You can't stop their words, but you can choose to walk with integrity. Every moment you choose to direct your focus toward what you can control, you reclaim power. You become less reactive, less emotionally volatile. You gain steadiness. That is the Stoic advantage, not immunity from difficulty, but resilience through wisdom. Imagine a ship sailing through a storm. The captain cannot stop the wind, but he can adjust the sails. He can hold the wheel firmly, stay the course, and trust his training. That's how you should approach life's storms. Control what you can. Your discipline, your principles, your response. Let the rest pass. This perspective is not passive. It is profoundly empowering. It doesn't mean you never act to change circumstances. It means you act from a place of strength, not desperation. You prepare for interviews, but you don't attach your worth to the outcome. You build relationships, but you don't demand others behave as you wish. The result is freedom. Freedom from anxiety over the uncontrollable. Freedom from resentment. Freedom to live aligned with your values, regardless of circumstance. It takes practice. The mind loves to fixate on things outside our influence. But each time you catch yourself worrying about what someone else might think or how the future might unfold, gently bring your focus back. What can I do right now that reflects who I want to be? Live by that question. Control the controllable. Let go of the rest. 3. Obstacles are your training grounds. To the untrained mind, obstacles are setbacks. To the Stoic, they are sacred. Every difficulty, every delay, every disappointment, these are not interruptions. They are the path itself. Marcus Aurelius put it simply, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is not poetic optimism. It is a strategic mindset. It means that nothing is wasted. Every challenge is an opportunity for growth, every obstacle a sharpening stone for your character. Think of a blacksmith forging a blade. Fire, pressure, repetition, these make the steel strong. Without resistance, the metal stays soft. You too are being forged. Each time life tests you, through failure, rejection, illness, or heartbreak, you are offered the chance to become stronger, wiser, more resilient. Most people run from struggle. The Stoic runs toward it, not out of masochism, but because they know. This is how we grow. You don't build patience in ease. You build it when nothing seems to go your way, and you refuse to complain. You don't build courage by sitting safely at home. You build it by showing up when fear is present. When obstacles arise, you have a choice. Will you let them define you or refine you? Consider the times in your life that shaped you most. Were they comfortable? Probably not. Growth is almost always preceded by discomfort. But discomfort is not danger. It's a signal that you are expanding your limits. This perspective transforms daily life. Traffic becomes a lesson in patience. Criticism becomes a mirror for self-awareness. Betrayal becomes a forge for strength and independence. Nothing is wasted if you're willing to learn. The key is not to wish for an easy life. but to become a person who can handle a difficult one. Life will bring adversity, that is a certainty. But if you face it with discipline and clarity, you emerge stronger each time. Over the years, you become someone who bends but does not break. So next time something goes wrong, say to yourself, "Good. Here is my training ground. This is where I grow." 4. Emotions, master or servant. To be human is to feel. The Stoics never denied this. They didn't aim to suppress emotion, but to understand and manage it. Emotions are not enemies, but they must not become your masters. In modern life, we often confuse reacting with feeling. A surge of anger leads to shouting, a flash of jealousy leads to resentment. But the Stoic pauses. They observe the emotion without obeying it. They create space between the stimulus and the response. That space is power. Consider the example of anger. Anger is natural. It arises when we feel wronged or threatened. But if we react immediately, lash out, hold a grudge, we become its prisoner. If instead we pause, breathe, and reflect, we might uncover something deeper, an insecurity, a boundary crossed, a need to speak truth calmly. The Stoic response is not emotionless, it is emotionally intelligent. It means choosing how to act, rather than being swept away. This mastery requires self-awareness. It begins with noticing, what am I feeling? Why? Is this reaction useful? Does it reflect who I want to be? Over time, you become less impulsive. You don't suppress sadness, but you don't let it paralyze you. You feel fear, but you act with courage anyway. You notice envy and use it as a signal to reassess your values rather than begrudge someone else's path. You also become more compassionate. You realize that others too are wrestling with emotions. When someone lashes out, you see their pain instead of just their aggression. This doesn't mean you accept abuse, but it means you respond with clarity, not retaliation. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you feel less. It means you feel more wisely. Train yourself to be the calm in the storm. Let your emotions be messengers, not dictators. They can inform your choices, but never make them for you. Ultimately, your power lies in that pause, the moment you choose to lead your emotions instead of being led by them. In that space, you build freedom, dignity, and strength. 5. Perspective. A tool for clarity. Perspective is not merely about how we look at the world, but more importantly, how we interpret it. In Stoic philosophy, perspective serves as one of the most powerful tools for transforming the way we experience life. It can often feel like the storm is raging around us. Personal struggles, external challenges, and the general chaos of life make it seem as though every moment is clouded by turmoil. But the Stoics understood a fundamental truth. Most of the storms we face are not external, they are within our perception. The ability to zoom out in times of distress can make all the difference. When we focus on the immediate problem, it can often feel as though our world is crumbling. A setback at work, a disagreement with a friend, or an unexpected change in plans can feel like the end of the world. However, as the Stoics taught, we should ask ourselves, will this matter in a year, 5 years, 10 years? This simple act of mental zooming out, of detaching ourselves from the immediate emotional response, allows us to gain a clearer view of the situation. The Stoic mindset encourages us to question the significance of our problems in the grand scheme of things. Often we discover that the challenges we face today are temporary, fleeting, and far less important than we originally perceived. In this sense, perspective serves as a tool for clarity. When we widen our focus, we see that many of the problems we worry about are not as powerful or insurmountable as they seem in the heat of the moment. This realization offers us a sense of freedom, the freedom to choose how we respond rather than being swept away by emotional impulses. Perspective also reveals possibilities. When we allow ourselves to step back and see things from a broader angle, new solutions and opportunities often present themselves. We begin to see that what we once thought of as a failure might actually be a stepping stone toward growth. Our struggles are reframed as challenges that we are equipped to face. The Stoics often use the metaphor of viewing life from a mountaintop to describe this process of mental zooming out. From a distance, the obstacles that once seemed monumental can appear as small bumps along a long path. It is only through this distance that we can see the bigger picture. Ultimately, perspective allows us to approach life with greater equanimity. Rather than reacting impulsively to every setback, we develop the wisdom to pause, reflect, and choose our response. By practicing the art of perspective, we gain mastery over our emotions and our actions. 6. Stillness, the unsung strength. In a world that prizes hustle, speed, and constant activity, stillness is often misunderstood. It can be perceived as laziness, a lack of ambition, or even a sign of weakness. Yet, for the Stoics, stillness was a sign of immense inner strength. It represents the ability to remain centered and calm, regardless of the chaos unfolding around us. Stillness does not mean inactivity. It does not imply a passive acceptance of life's events. Instead, stillness is an intentional choice to quiet the mind and focus on what truly matters. It is the space where clarity lives, the calm before a decision is made, the pause before a reaction. In stillness, we find the mental and emotional freedom to choose our response instead of being driven by impulse or emotion. In times of stress or difficulty, the world may feel as though it is pressing down upon us. External forces may demand our attention, our time, and our energy. Yet, the Stoics remind us that true strength lies in our ability to remain undisturbed by these forces. We are not simply reacting to external events. We are choosing how we will respond to them. When the world rages around us, stillness becomes a form of power. It is in this stillness that we can make wise decisions, free from the cloud of emotional turmoil. Rather than being swept away by anger, fear, or frustration, we remain calm and grounded, able to take measured action. This is not weakness. It is the greatest form of strength. Stillness allows us to cultivate a sense of peace within ourselves, regardless of the circumstances. In the midst of chaos, it is the still mind that sees clearly. The world may be in turmoil, but the Stoic remains unshaken, centered in their sense of purpose and values. In a society that often values constant movement and productivity, stillness can seem foreign or even counterproductive. However, those who have mastered the art of stillness know that it is only through stillness that true power is attained. By embracing calm and intentionally creating space for clarity, we tap into a wellspring of inner strength that empowers us to face life's challenges with resilience and grace. 7. Simplicity brings focus. The modern world is filled with distractions. We are bombarded with information, demands, and expectations from every direction. It can be difficult to find focus amidst the noise. The Stoics, however, knew that clarity comes through simplicity. They chose simplicity not out of a lack of things, but because they understood that simplicity brings focus, the ability to concentrate on what truly matters. A cluttered life clouds the mind. When we are overwhelmed by the multitude of possessions, tasks, and responsibilities, it becomes difficult to see what is truly important. The Stoics advocated for stripping away the excess, both materially and mentally. They believed that by removing the unnecessary, we could create the space to focus on what was essential. Simplicity is not about minimizing for the sake of minimalism. It is about focusing on the things that align with our values and goals. It is about letting go of the distractions that prevent us from living with purpose and intention. By simplifying our lives, We can direct our energy toward the pursuits that truly matter. The less we need, the more powerful we become. When we are no longer weighed down by the desire for more things, more experiences, more approval, we free ourselves to focus on the things that bring true fulfillment. Simplicity allows us to align our actions with our values, making each moment more meaningful. For the Stoics, simplicity was a pathway to self-mastery. It was a way to cultivate clarity, control, and discipline. By focusing on the essentials, they were able to live with greater intention and purpose. They knew that happiness and fulfillment did not come from accumulating more, but from simplifying and focusing on the things that truly brought value to their lives. In a world that constantly encourages us to do more, buy more, and be more, the Stoic practice of simplicity is a powerful antidote. It is a reminder that we are not defined by what we accumulate, but by the focus and clarity we cultivate within ourselves. When we simplify our lives, we open ourselves up to the freedom of truly living. 8. You write your story. Every day we tell ourselves a story. It is the narrative that shapes our identity, our beliefs, and our actions. But the question is, what kind of story are you writing? Is it one of weakness, doubt, and fear? Or is it one of resilience, purpose, and strength? The Stoics understood that we are the authors of our own stories. They believed that we have the power to shape our own narrative, regardless of the circumstances we face. We are not defined by our past, our failures, or our struggles. Instead, we are defined by how we choose to respond to them. This is the power of perspective. By changing the way we view ourselves and our experiences, we can rewrite our story. We can choose to see ourselves not as victims of circumstance, but as active participants in our own growth and development. The Stoics believed that adversity could be transformed into opportunity, and that challenges were simply stepping stones on the path to wisdom. The story you tell yourself shapes the way you move through the world. If you tell yourself that you are weak, incapable, or unworthy, you will limit yourself in every way. But if you tell yourself that you are strong, resilient, and capable of overcoming any obstacle, you empower yourself to take action and create change. Every moment is an opportunity to rewrite your narrative. You are not bound by the story that has been told to you by others, nor are you trapped by the stories you have told yourself in the past. You have the power to create a new story, one that reflects the person you are becoming, not the person you once were. The Stoic practice of self-reflection encourages us to examine our inner dialogue and challenge the limiting beliefs we hold about ourselves. By rewriting our story, we can free ourselves from the chains of doubt and fear and step into a life of purpose, strength, and resilience. In the end, you are the author of your own life. Write a story worth living. Choose to be the hero of your journey, and watch as the narrative unfolds into a tale of growth, wisdom, and triumph. 9. Choose resilience. Over approval, in our fast-paced, social media-driven world, seeking approval has become an almost automatic reflex. We post pictures, share our thoughts, and look for validation through likes, comments, and shares. It's a form of external gratification that feels good in the moment, but is fleeting. Approval fades quickly, leaving behind a sense of emptiness that can only be filled by the next dose of validation. This chase for approval can consume us, distracting us from what truly matters: integrity, purpose, and resilience. The Stoics, ancient philosophers who mastered the art of mental fortitude, warn us of this temptation. They remind us that while approval from others may feel nice, it doesn't last, and it certainly doesn't define us. In their teachings, the Stoics emphasize the importance of focusing on what is in our control: our actions, our values, and our character. Everything else, including external validation, is beyond our influence. When you act based on your values, not to please others, you develop a sense of resilience. Resilience is the ability to face adversity, remain steadfast in your beliefs, and keep moving forward regardless of what others think or say. It is about staying grounded in your principles, even when the world around you is shifting. Approval from others can be fickle, but when your actions stem from a place of deep internal conviction, you become untouchable. No matter the criticism, no matter the lack of praise, you are unwavering. A strong mind, as the Stoics teach, is not one that seeks attention or applause. It is not loud or dramatic. It does not beg for others to recognize its worth. Instead, it acts with purpose. The Stoics, particularly figures like Marcus Aurelius, embraced the idea that life is about constant improvement and self-discipline, not about earning the admiration of the crowd. Think about the Stoic principle of living, according to nature and reason. It's about being true to yourself, your values, and the greater good, without the need for external validation. This principle encourages us to act in ways that align with our personal integrity and moral compass, irrespective of how others may perceive us. By focusing on building resilience, you learn to prioritize your inner strength over fleeting approval. This shift in mindset doesn't happen overnight, but with time and practice, it becomes second nature. You stop measuring your worth by the opinions of others and instead base it on the values you hold dear. In daily life, this means making decisions that align with your core principles, even if they're not popular. It's about choosing to be honest, compassionate, and fair, even when no one is watching or applauding your actions. The more you practice this, the stronger and more resilient you become. And over time, you'll notice something profound. While the approval of others may still come and go, you will no longer feel the need to chase it. Your integrity will be the constant that guides you, and that is a far more powerful and lasting source of fulfillment. The beauty of choosing resilience over approval is that it leads to a more meaningful, purpose-driven life. Your actions no longer hinge on others' opinions, but instead come from a place of deep internal conviction. This creates a sense of freedom. Freedom from the chains of social validation and the endless cycle of seeking approval. You are free to live authentically and on your own terms. And let's not forget that the Stoics were not alone in recognizing this truth. Throughout history, many great leaders, thinkers, and artists have embraced this idea. The greatest individuals in history did not rise to greatness by seeking approval. They rose by staying true to their values, even when the world doubted them. They built resilience, not only to weather external storms, but to cultivate a lasting inner strength that could not be shaken by the whims of others. The Stoic approach to resilience over approval encourages us to build a foundation that cannot be shaken by the winds of external praise or criticism. It teaches us to act with purpose, to remain true to our values, and to develop an inner strength that allows us to face challenges with confidence. When we prioritize resilience, we become untouchable, not because we seek approval, but because we are grounded in something far more powerful, our integrity and our values. 10. Strength is built daily. Mental toughness is not something that magically appears in moments of crisis. It is not a gift bestowed upon the few. Instead, it is a habit, a practice that is cultivated daily. Every day we are presented with opportunities to choose growth, and every day we face the decision of whether to take the easy route or challenge ourselves to become better. The Stoics understood this principle deeply. They believed that strength, both mental and physical, was not a one-time achievement, but a continuous process of discipline and effort. To be mentally strong is to persist, to endure, and to rise to the occasion every time life presents a challenge. And the good news is, mental toughness is within everyone's reach. It is not reserved for the chosen few. It is available to anyone willing to put in the work. Consider the words of the Stoic philosopher Seneca, who said, "No man is crushed by misfortune unless he has first been deceived by it." What Seneca meant is that adversity is an inevitable part of life, but it is how we respond to it that defines our strength. We are not born with resilience, we build it through our responses to life's challenges. Every setback is an opportunity to practice mental toughness. Every failure is a chance to learn and improve, and so every moment becomes a decision. Will you choose the path of ease, or will you choose growth? The path of ease is the one that says, "I'll avoid discomfort. I'll take the shortcut." It's the path that leads to stagnation, to a life of mediocrity. The path of growth, on the other hand, says, "I will embrace the discomfort. I will face my fears. I will improve." This path leads to strength, resilience, and progress. But the path of growth is not always easy. It requires consistency, discipline, and perseverance. It's about showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it, even when the world around you seems to be telling you that you deserve a break. Mental toughness is forged in the small moments. The moments when you choose to rise early, to work through discomfort, to keep going when the world is telling you to stop. These are the moments that build the foundation for true strength. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most revered Stoic philosophers and emperors, is a prime example of this idea. He was not immune to self-doubt or struggle. In his personal writings, he often reflects on his own imperfections and the challenges he faced in maintaining his composure as a ruler. Yet, despite his doubts, he returned to his principles every single day. He understood that strength is not about never feeling vulnerable or uncertain. It's about continuing to act with integrity, discipline, and focus, regardless of those feelings. Every time Marcus faced a challenge, he reminded himself of his Stoic principles. To focus on what is within his control, to accept what he could not change, and to approach each situation with reason and calm. His strength came from his commitment to these daily practices, not from a moment of grand revelation. It was his consistency, his refusal to give up, that allowed him to build the mental fortitude necessary to lead a vast empire. The same principle applies to us in our daily lives. Whether we are facing the pressures of work, relationships, or personal goals, we must remember that strength is not built overnight. It is a daily practice. We must make the choice to embrace discomfort, to show up even when we don't feel like it, and to remain disciplined in our pursuit of growth. In the end, the key to mental toughness is understanding that it's not about being perfect. It's about showing up again and again, even when you fail, even when you feel like giving up. Each time you choose growth over ease, you become stronger. And over time, you'll build a mental resilience that will carry you through life's toughest moments. Just as the Stoics taught, strength is built through daily effort. Mental toughness is not a gift but a habit, one that is cultivated through consistent practice. It is in our everyday choices that we either build or diminish our strength. By choosing growth over ease, embracing discomfort, and committing to our principles, we can develop the resilience needed to face any challenge. And just as Marcus Aurelius did, we too can return to our core values each day, building the mental strength necessary to endure and thrive. So what about you? Will you let life toss you like a leaf in the wind, or will you anchor yourself in something deeper? If this message spoke to you, subscribe, like, and share it with someone else ready to rise above their excuses. Remember, strength isn't something you're born with, it's something you choose every day, and today you choose to build your mind strong. Let's walk the Stoic path together.